Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, thank you for having me. My name is Juwita Apriliani and I'm going to be speaking to you today about how to motivate students to learn English. To begin, imagine the following scenarios. While vinegar may be a good dressing for a fresh garden salad, it's not the way to attract bees. They say honey does the job, but I'm pretty sure brightly colored flowers will produce the same results because bees like them too. And even though gardening may not be my forte, I do know that honey and flowers are important in the classroom too. Figuratively, you know as well as I do that honey, flowers, and vinegar aren't just about the bees. They're about motivation. There are two types of motivation: intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is a push that comes from inside a person. When people enjoy doing a certain activity, they are intrinsically motivated. Meanwhile, extrinsic motivation is a push that comes from outside a person. When people want to gain a reward, which means good grades or avoid punishment, they are usually extrinsically motivated. At times, when a person has an intrinsic motivation, rewarding them can reduce their intrinsic motivation, which could make them less interested in the activity, thus decreasing their performance. On the other hand, when a person is not interested in English, it means they have no intrinsic motivation to learn. In this case, giving rewards can get them to participate in the activity, which may then trigger some intrinsic motivation inside them. For this example, we can see that extrinsic motivation can turn to intrinsic motivation. With this type of mindset, extrinsic motivation could potentially slow their learning process. The students will perform best when the teacher focuses on motivating them intrinsically rather than extrinsically. Therefore, rather than tempting them to learn with external rewards, the teacher should encourage their already exciting desire to learn. Here, I will give some tactics to motivate students in order to learn English. First, make class communicative. The main reason students want to learn English is so that they can communicate with people from other countries at school and for job purposes. The main goal for some students is being able to communicate in the business world. The students will be more motivated if the teacher encourages them to communicate in class. See the improvement they are making throughout will make them want to study and engage with the class even more. How can the teacher make the class more communicative? To make the class more communicative, the student should engage more in group activities. In this scenario, the students should use language or vocabulary they've already learned and try to accomplish something from it. Then the teacher talk time should be kept to a minimum. More students will be able to talk if the teaching is not speaking at all times. This way, they'll be using their language skills for communication. Moreover, the teacher should change the seating arrangements, columns or traditional rows, and allow the students to create larger tables to encourage them to communicate with one another. In addition, discovery grammar method is another way of allowing students to communicate among themselves. By providing a grammar worksheet to 2 or 3 students with given answers in the blanks before the teacher teaches the grammatical concept. See if they can figure out the rule on by themselves while communicating with each other. Second, make English practical. People in general don't like to do things that are not beneficial to them. They want to know that there is a reason behind what they do, regardless of whether the action is simple or hard. One approach to keep things more practical within the classroom environment is to use realia whenever possible. Realia is one more approach to use objects and materials from everyday life. Project-based learning starts with true-to-life problems, which is a great way to keep things focused on reality, where the students will have the chance to solve them. The students come across a series of steps that will guide them to the problem in the project-based activity. Some of the steps include collecting necessary material, identifying different steps students will have to take to unravel the problem, recording the information crucial for coming to a solution, concluding, and finally presenting their solution. Of course, the process of this activity is more important than the outcome. This is where students are practicing the language. By focusing on the communication process throughout the activity, the teacher is motivating the students because he or she is not concentrating on the extrinsic motivation when it comes to grading the assignment at the end of the lesson. Another way to stay focused on the practical is to role play. Recreating real-life situations the students are likely to experience outside of the classroom will allow them to prepare for the future in a secure setting. Third, make class fun. If a teacher can make the class fun for the students, it is a way to up the intrinsic motivation levels. Students are more prone to be engaged in the learning process if they are having a good time. There are some strategies for making the class a fun class. First, start with social media. By including them in the class, the teacher will not only make the language used practical, but the teacher will also bring something relatable for the students and add it within their learning process. They could start by writing something on Facebook or Instagram, or perhaps start a blog of some kind. Then bring pop culture to class. People of any age love magazines, movies, and music. This can be easily used for learning new vocabulary or reading activities or listening activities. In addition are games. They are a good way of incorporating fun and learning at the same time. With games like Scrabble or Charades, the teacher can use grammatical structures and teach vocabulary. Fourth, forge relationships. If a teacher is teaching an international class, he or she will be the only English speaker they will see or speak with daily. Therefore, showing support to students is something the teacher needs to do before trying to motivate them. A way of letting the students know the teacher cares is by encouraging expressions of culture in the class. Attention will be paid when the students are describing their traditions, beliefs, or values. Another way to form relationships with the students is to show consideration. The teacher should try to bond with the students and allow them to see they can turn to him or her for advice or help. And the last is give feedback. Feedback should be carefully considered. The way the teacher delivers his or her feedback to the students is important for forming the right relationships with students. If the teacher corrects every mistake every time a student makes one, students will end up estranging themselves. Giving positive feedback is as important as giving criticism. If there's any mistake in need of addressing, the teacher should also have some positive feedback to deliver afterward. At the same time, the teacher doesn't need to be the only source of feedback. The students should be encouraged when it comes to peer feedback as well as self-evaluation. Let me briefly restate those main points about how to motivate students to learn English. First, make class communicative. Second, make English practical. Third, make class fun. Fourth, forge relationships. And the last, key feedback. Motivating students is a part of every teacher's job. And while honey and vinegar may be great in the kitchen, the best kind of motivation comes from within the students themselves. That's all for me. Thank you for your kind attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.